Hi, my name is Brianna, and I am doing my presentation on speech impairment. So let's go ahead and start this slideshow. Speech impairments, presented by Brianna Leffman. The legal definition, according to Section 300.8 under the regulations and IDEA, a speech impairment means a communication disorder such as stuttering, impaired articulation, a language impairment, or a voice impairment that adversely affects a child's educational performance. Indicators of a fluency impairment: repetitions of words, sounds, or phrases, prolongation of sounds and blocks. Indicators of voice impairment: there are many signs of a voice disorder, but the biggest for school-age children include a scratchy or breathy voice, sounding hoarse or kind of nasally sounding. Indicators of articulation or phonology impairment: it is very normal for young children to mispronounce letters, words, and mix up sounds, but by the time they're a certain age, it should be fixed. In the following slide, I posted a picture from Desi that represents the ages crossed with what speech sounds and blends a child should have mastered. So this is the picture that I screenshot and included. You can go through and see by the time they are 3, they should have M mastered, about 3.5 in. You go in, there's some blends, TH by 8, SH by 7, and you can give or take some time. It doesn't have to be right at when they turn 7, or it could be any time within that year. Causes of speech impairment: there are multiple causes, but it is still frequently unknown why. But these are just a few that may cause speech impairment. Apraxia, which is when the brain has issues with sending a message about what muscles to use and how to use in your jaw, your mouth. It's like a misfire of communication. And it's not common, but it can present in children. So it is not common for children, but it can present. Dysarthria is when the muscles in the cheek, mouth, and tongue are weak and cannot form the sounds needed. Developmental disorders like autism, genetic syndrome such as Down syndrome. Hearing loss can come from ear infections. They can affect your speech as well. And brain damage or a traumatic brain injury. All of those can be causes of a speech impairment. Diagnosis for sound system disorders: we're going to talk about articulation and phonology. So a child must be 1 year behind the age identified in the normative data chart that is pictured on slide 5. So that slide that I just showed you, the child must be 1 year behind the age identified and present one or more of the following: substitutions, distortions, omissions, additions, or phonological patterns of processes. Or that child cannot be understood, and they're not showing a year behind, but there are multiple sound system errors, but it is impacting their education. They must have one or both of these listed, according to Desi. Here is the state standard guide. So the diagnosis for fluency. In order for fluency to be diagnosed as the speech impairment issue, with the child must display one or more of the behaviors in disfluency sound, such as sound or syllabic or word repetition, prolongation of sounds, avoidance, blockages, hesitations. Gestures can also be addressed, and if any of these are affecting the student's communication and hindering their education, they may qualify for speech services. Here is a little screenshot of the State Standard Guide for Fluency. The diagnosis for voice: a child must exhibit a difference in one or more of the following: pitch, like a too high or too low, or a decreased pitch range; quality, such as nasally breath, strained, excessive vocal effort; or volume, meaning too high, too low, or more of like an unsteady volume. They look for if the child's voice is comparable to those around the same age, gender, and or culture. It is also looked at to see if this is the cause of a medical condition, such as cold or allergies. This is the State Standard Guide. All of these guides and indicators are very helpful in the diagnosis and can be found on DESE's website under Special Education Compliance Standards and Indicators. They're very handy in assessing what may be going on with a student that is in your classroom. So I would always keep that handy in case you are wondering, hey, what's going on with this kiddo? And you can check these and talk to your special educator that works with your grade level and see what you can do. Classroom accommodations for speech impairments: you can use gentle reminders to use an appropriate voice. Reduce background noise in the classroom. If the student does not want to talk in front of the class, don't make them. It can make them feel uncomfortable, and you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. Seat student next to another student that is proficient in speech, and or sit them near the front of the room if that's going to help with that kiddo. Another one that I had was use graphic organizers and visual aids. Those really come in handy for these kiddos that have a speech impairment as well. Classroom modifications. As a teacher, you should model good speech production in the classroom. Give the student longer oral response times, and allow the students to type written projects and work instead of presenting it orally, because that could be an issue for them, obviously, if they have a speech impairment. I linked a video that tells about the importance of speech pathology in schools. It gives great insight on the teacher's perspective and what a speech pathologist does for the students. So that is the end of this slideshow. Thank you for taking your time to watch, and hopefully you'll learn a little something. Thanks. Bye.